And I am so excited to be joined on the Purple Pants podcast with, I mean, some would say my man, my main man, the Oz that is the Ozzy. But I'd like to formally welcome to the podcast Ozzy Lust. Ozzy, how are you today?
Oh man, I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm better now that I get to see you and get to talk to
Yeah,
you on the podcast.
yeah.
It's been a crazy week and just a crazy start to the month, and so I guess I'll just dive right into it. Is it fair to say that we broke the internet a couple of days ago?
I mean, I hope so. I hope that people are, you know, surprised at the openness that we can share, and I think that that's exemplary of what pride stands for. Being able to live your authentic self and not have to worry about the judgment of other people.
Yeah, I mean, I think that honestly was the point of the photo shoot, was for that very reason. But I think people want to know, is Brice and Ozzy dating? So I feel like you should answer the question for the people, Ozzy.
You know, I don't think that we need to give people too much. We like a little mystery, right?
I you, you
We
know
like we like
listen,
people to ask questions and to be interested in what's going on because we can't give them too much. We
I
gotta
mean,
we gotta let them be wondering.
I agree. I think what's the statement? What is understood does not need to be explained. Um,
Exactly.
but I am really honored to have you on the podcast. And I guess like my first question that I really want to ask you is like, who is Ozzy? Like, how would you describe Ozzy? And I guess you can even take more like a holistic approach to it. But like, who is Ozzy?
Man, that's a good question. I ask myself that all the time, and I don't know. I think in the last couple years of COVID, where we were all sort of left isolated, was an opportunity for me to really kind of let myself be examined a little bit. Um i i don't know. I think that there's a lot of like metaphysical questions when you ask, like, who are you, what are you, what makes you you. And it's I think that's a really tough question, and it's something that we all as humans, like, we go through this journey of trying to figure that out. And I don't think that any of us, I mean, maybe some people out there, they just know. They know exactly who they are, what they're all about. And I find that a little depressing,
Hmm.
in a way, because I think that there's so much contained within us. There's a multitude of lives, of personalities, of of possibilities. And I think growing up, when you go through trauma, you go through, I don't know, just trying to survive, we kind of put ourselves in these little boxes, these little
Hmm.
categories, these little things that help us to figure out where our place is in the world. And it's only when you actually take a moment to break that down a little bit and to say, well, there's been a lot of conditioning that's happened throughout my entire life, my childhood, my teenage years, young adulthood, that conditioning kind of creates this facade of like who you think you are, who you
Hmm.
might be. And I think that if you don't do the work to kind of look at that and understand, like, all right, my conditioning and my childhood and my sort of early life created this persona that may or may not be who I am. Like, I have all these thoughts that go, through my head, as we all do, on a continuous basis. And it was a realization I've only had in, the last number of years, that you're not your thoughts.
Hmm.
You're not that stream of consciousness. That's not you. That you're something else. Like, you're the observer that sits outside of that watches these thoughts go by. And to answer your question, I don't know who I really am per se, but I do know that I am this this consciousness, this observer that sees all these things happening, these experiences that I have, and um, I think that, like, for me, just being more open to letting go of some of the things, some of the ideas of who I thought I was, have allowed me to kind of grow into uh, kind of opened up some doors, opened up some places in my heart, in my soul, in my mind that I wasn't comfortable or wasn't even able to examine or look at. Um, and yeah, so long story short is I'm like a half written page, I think, that is going through rewrites. I've written a paragraph, or I've written a couple pages, my life, but I'm in the process of rewriting.
I think that's like you bring up such a good point, because when I was like just coming up with these questions, I was like asking the questions to myself and like how I would answer them. And I kind of got stuck on that. Like if someone were to ask me like, who is Brice? Um, I would say I don't know, but I always tell my listeners and I always tell people that know me, like I'm on a road to a better Brice. And so I am not the Brice that I was yesterday. I'm not the Brice that I was last week. I am like, I feel like I'm a new Brice every day, and I'm striving to be the better Brice that I can be. And, you even brought up like people putting themselves into boxes. And it made me reflect on like, my childhood and growing up. And I felt like I put myself in certain boxes because it made me feel safe. It made me feel like, well, if I can fit into this box, no one will ever like bother me. But I mean, of course, people still bothered me, and I still, got teased and different things. But it was interesting enough that like I felt as though I put myself in a box to like shield me. And later on in my life, I realized that emotional boxness. Um, I still carry around, and it's like, me shedding those boxes that I realize, like, I'm discovering new things about myself. And at times, those boxes that I put myself in, or I'm so easily able to put other people in, have like really prevented like healthy relationships for me, because I don't allow that person to come out of the box that 11, 13, 14, 15-year-old me created to put people in to like feel safer. So I think that like
Mm-hmm.
such a I didn't just such an interesting dynamic that you brought up, and I think that that's just so great. But what do you see are the biggest differences between the Ozzy that we were introduced to on Cook Islands and the Ozzy that we see today?
Hmm. I think I'm just a little bit older. I think I'm a little more patient with myself. I think I'm a little more patient with other people. Um, I think that I've maybe lost a little of my bravado. And I think I've become a little more sensitive
Hmm.
to myself and to other people. And, you know, I think it's just such a cliche that you think you know everything when you're young. And the more you know, the more you learn, the more you find out you don't know. And, you know, I watched myself when I was on Cook Islands, and I just cringe. I'm just like, man, there's so much I don't know and so much I have yet to figure out. And, I thought I knew it all. I thought I had it all worked out back then. And I think that really the only big difference is that, um, I'm just been trying to be more patient with myself and make space for myself to fuck up and to do better.
Right. And I mean, I think that, and do you feel like back then that you didn't have patience because you felt like you had to be like this perfect person, or you had to like meet these timelines? Or do you feel like it just was society telling you these things? And now that although you say you older, you look the same. The only difference, in my opinion, is the hair is longer. But do you feel like it's like society was putting those pressures on you, or like what do you think that has like really given you the patience to like give yourself grace, essentially what it sounds like?
Yeah, no, I think it came from myself. Like, I've never really cared that much about society as I got older and was able to, lead, take control of my own decisions. I think growing up, you do what you have to do to get through some of the, like, painful childhood, painful teenage years, and then after I was 17, 18, and on my own, I could make the decisions for myself. I'm kind of like actively giving a middle finger to most of society, most
Mhm.
of what we've built, most of what, sorry, we've inherited in this society that we've kind of come into in this period of in the United States. We have this society that is obviously so incredibly broken in so many ways, and it starts at such a young age. It starts at such a young age. You know, believing, getting brainwashed by what is the right way to live, what is the best way to live. I think that, I've always been skeptical of the status quo. I've always
Mhm.
been skeptical of the people telling me that this is how you should live, whether it's coming from the church, coming from teachers, coming from government, even coming from older people. And sometimes that gets you into trouble because there's often good advice, but often there's a dogma associated with it that is just about making sure that people stay controlled and stupid
Mhm.
and, contributing to society in a way that is easily managed. So I don't even remember your question. I don't even know
I
if I
mean,
answered it.
I don't know either. I'm just listening. I could just look at you and listen all day. But no, I think that you did. But you've always been someone who's been like vocal and always like spoken up. And recently you came out as bisexual,
Yeah.
which can be super hard on so many different levels. One, you're coming out as not straight. And then there's also like biphobia, where people who don't believe that like bisexuality exists. Like, what has your experience been like living in your truth as a bi man, and how did people respond to you?
Um, it's a good question. I mean, uh, it's funny because I think that there's this idea, like we've been talking about putting things in boxes. Like, humans just need to, in order to make sense of the world, it's part of human nature. We have to say, is this black or is this white?
Right.
Is this up or is this down? Is this straight or is this gay? And life just doesn't work like that.
Mm.
There's rarely times when things are on this, like, really obvious binary, like one or zero or one type of category. So, you know, people that don't believe in bisexuality are the same people that probably don't believe in homosexuality. They're probably the same people that don't believe in evolution. They're probably the same people that, take the Bible for being literal truth. I mean, and you can't really argue with those people. The only thing that you can do is, on a case by case basis, person by person basis, is make a human connection and say, look, I'm a person, I'm a human, I'm the same as you, and I am this way, or I feel these certain feelings, and there's nothing wrong with it. And I just hope that we, as a human, as a species, that we get a chance to evolve, to kind of move past this fixation on, you know
It,
gender, on sexual identity, on just even who we are, like the color of our skin, where we came from. I hope that someday that humans, we can move past that and evolve to be just, we have so much potential of creating beautiful things. And we're just getting so stuck on these, just such nonsense.
Ozzy, you are preaching to the choir to me, because I feel like, one, in my opinion, sexuality is not like one or the other. I feel like,
Yeah.
it is a spectrum. And, believe it or not, everyone falls somewhere on the spectrum. And it's been my mission to help break down those stereotypes that, like, you have to live one way. And there's so many people that I know, or that are living a closeted life because of the way their family has raised them, because of how society, because they feel like they are in a relationship and they're trapped. And it's just, it saddens me, because there are times that I will see people that I know, you don't need to tell me, I know. And it's like they're living this lie. And it sometimes, I feel like it breaks me, because I went through whatever I went through at a very young age, because I didn't have the opportunity to live another life, but the life that I live, because I'm the person that I am. But there are some people who can assimilate or go into society, and it not necessarily be a thing on their outward appearance, but they just struggle so bad. And so for me, when you announced that you were bisexual on Twitter, it was like the happiest, well, it was the happiest day of my life, for a lot of different reasons. But I know how, and just in general, but in the survivor community, I know how people adore you. I know how people love you. I know how people just look at you as a legend. And I know that because I do myself. Like, I'm obsessed with you. But just to see a masculine man come out and say that he's bisexual, for me was just like barriers. And I know that there are people that can relate to that. And I know that people that see you kind of give them the okay to be like, no, wait a minute, if Ozzy can do it, I can do it. It just is, it's just very powerful. And I don't know if you realize how powerful the tweet that you sent off really was. And I think a lot of people were just joking with it and thinking like, oh, he's doing this for this, he's doing that for that. But I mean, me feeling like I know the person that you are, I would feel that that is something that, you would not play with, and you would be very genuine about. And I think that it just honestly was a very beautiful thing. What do you feel like propelled you to make that proclamation?
Honestly, I'm just so I'm just so fed up with the intolerance. And I'm
Mm,
just so fed up with the fact that there seems to be like this un like un there just seems to be almost like an endless amount of hate that can come
mm,
out of the ignorance that goes along with you know denying this part of humanity. And I don't know, I think that it for me, coming out in the way that I did was about reclaiming some of my power.
mm,
I want to be able to examine all the different experiences and all of the different things and open myself up to so much love that there is for so many different people. And I think that for me it comes down to just I don't want to see people as like man, woman, gay, straight, black, white, whatever these categories that we've created. you know I really do want to try and live my life looking past this and looking at the strict energy of a
mm,
person, and the beauty that is within them isn't something that is restricted by the way they look or the way that what their actions.
mm,
It's something more than that. And I'm just so fucking tired of people assuming that they know, what people are, or what you know having it's so hard for me to even um talk about this because I haven't really come up with a real strong reason as to why. I just knew that in that moment it was enough.
mm,
Enough was
mm,
enough, and that I just had to talk about my truth. And that you know I made the decision a year and a half ago to share my sexuality online. And part of this journey of discovery of creating a safe space for myself is realizing that I put restrictions on myself at such a young age that it's taken me years and years to kind of unpack and become okay with the fact that you know maybe I'm curious, maybe I'm this, that, or the other. And I think that, having it be part of my public journey just allows other people to also
Mm,
come along with me that might be feeling the same way, that you're not doing yourself any justice, you're not doing yourself a service by taking those feelings and crushing them and burying
mm.
them deep inside. Let those feelings come out, let yourself become more comfortable with the things that you feel, and not just like, you know looking at it like, oh, I hate this part of me because this part should be hated because this is deviant from the normal. Like, this isn't normal. This, I shouldn't feel this way. And I don't know. I understand that I have an influence on people, and I understand that some people look up to me, and if there's anything that I can do to show people that you know that there is another way, that I want to take that step, and I want to do that.
Ozzy, I just love you. Yeah, yeah, I just love you. I think that
Oh,
is
thank
so.
you.
I think that's so beautiful. And again, I like not to bring back to our photos, but I think that that was the message. Clear in our photos that like we took. I think that some people can look at the photos and think that there is there's a lot to take from the photo. Okay, there is a lot to take from the photos. Okay, if you understand what I'm saying. Okay, it's giving junk in the trunk. But no, I honestly, I think that that is the response of our photos kind of sort of surprised me. I thought it'd just be like a little hee hee ha, like, but I didn't think that like the way it's going crazy on Twitter, the way that like news is picking it up. But again, I think that there is beauty in it. And I think that, for someone like me who seems the complete opposite of you, and someone of your stature to be like in a bed, nestled up to a soft caramel skin body like mine. Like it catches people by surprise. But I think like literally what you said is that like I want to do better. I want to show people that like if there's any influence that I can have, that I can help people lead the way. And I think that like, sometimes actions speak louder than words. And although people might think one thing about the photos, but honestly, like what you described is how I truly feel about the photos. And I've been came to you with this idea a long time ago. You must have thought I was crazy, but honestly, I truly saw the beauty in it. And I think that, it is just with people like you who speak their truth and live in their truth, it can make the world so much an easier time. There's sometimes in my life I feel like, well, why wasn't I born in like the Greek era where it seemed
Yeah.
like, it seemed like sexuality wasn't a thing that people just seem to like hang up on. But I just again, I just applaud you. And I if I thought the Ozzy meter of love in my heart couldn't go up any higher, just listening to you actually like explain it in your own Ozzy way really is something that for me is very special. But do certain aspects of your identity impact other aspects of your identity? For instance, like how does your racial identity impact your experiences with your sexual orientation, or vice versa? Or does gender influence the kind of privilege that you have access to? I know that's kind of like a loaded question, but I just felt like we were kind of going down this realm, and I really love your insight.
Yeah, I mean, it is a loaded question, but I love the question. We live in a patriarchal society, and old white men make the rules. And anything that I can do to help break the fuck out of that
Mhm.
broken system, I sign me up. I am gonna fight for the other side as hard as I can. The my my racial, my me being Hispanic, Latino. Um, Luckily, I wasn't raised in a household that was bigoted towards anyone. Really, everyone was accepted. Everyone was, you know, equal in my household always. Um, but I had to go to school. I had to go to public school. I had to go to public school. I had to go, and I grew up in the South in North
Mhm.
Carolina, and to be able to survive as a kid, you got to do what you can, and you don't want to be too different, otherwise you get beat up. And I already had troubles for other reasons, but you know, being a white passing,
Mm,
I mean, I think a lot of people, as long as I don't have too much of a mustache and I'm not too dark skinned, in most places, I don't have a problem, and I have a privileged sort of look. Certain places in the South, the cops don't like me for sure, but we're lucky to be men in this world, and I think as as much as my privilege has given me, whatever I can do to help fight back against this type of toxic society where toxic masculinity seems to rule
mm,
supreme. I am a full believer in breaking the patriarchy. I think that for the last 2,000 years, the Judeo-Christian um, uh, power has come from, you know, subjugating women and the other, whether that's gay, black, brown, whatever it is, so that the white man can rule. It's a colonial. We live right now in the decline of colonialism, and unless we fight back against it, and the power will continue to stay with these old white men. So
mm.
I feel like there is a groundswell of change coming. I really do. I think that the right type of people are getting into politics. I think the right type of people are standing up and speaking out wherever and whenever they can. And the more they do it, from D-list reality celebrities like myself to some of the most influential people of our day, the more that we do to stand up and fight against the hate of this world, the better.
Yeah, agree completely. I also think that something that you touched on was like, that you're, a Latino man, but you are white passing. I think that is just very interesting for you to bring up because I feel like there are times when I'm talking about like race or I'm talking about someone and someone will be so quick to point out that like, oh well, he's Latino or he's Asian, or and it's hard for me to explain to them like, yes, they may be a minority, but there is a privilege in the fact of like they may pass as white, and I don't think a lot of people understand when I say that what that means. But I am happy to hear and to know that you recognize that privilege of like what, like white passing is, because it is a thing and it plays a lot into like the society construct of which people assimilate into, and why at times I always have such a hard time explaining, kind of diving into like the survivor realm of it, where like I'm such a huge advocate for like minority gay players, and it seems they always go out so early, and then I'm like historically we've had 4 black openly gay players go out third, and like they normally don't make it far, and then there have been other like LGBTQ plus players that have gone like really far, even won the game. And it's hard for me at times to explain to people that like yes, because they assimilate into this to the white culture, and although they might be a different ethnic background, or they might be, their race might be something, but they assimilate, and that's why they're able to kind of sort of make it so far. But at times a lot of people don't understand where I'm coming from, so you to even bring that point up, for me, just I appreciate that, because at times I feel like people use it, but they don't recognize that that is an actual privilege, to be able to do that. Do you get what I'm saying, or like does that?
Yeah,
Okay,
100%.
because
100%.
and then I mean, since we're on the topic of Survivor, I'm just curious, like, do you still keep up with Survivor today?
Yeah, yeah, I do. I've found that the last 2 seasons have been the last 3 seasons really, because Winners at War was pretty fun to watch. The last 2 seasons have been great, and I think this last season specifically was, I really hope that, and I know they're not gonna go backwards now that they have, actually done the work to create a cast that is diverse and has people from all walks of life. It is so much more fun to watch, so much more interesting. And I don't know if you have this, but like I accidentally I went to go to the movies the other day, and went into the wrong theater and was saw like the first part of Downton Abbey.
Oh,
Okay, so just whatever. I'm sure that it's a great program or what, but I just realized like how boring it is to watch the same white actors playing these roles. It just has gotten to me. To me, it's just like this needs to stop. And
listen,
when studios, Netflix, Hulu, Amazon, whatever, whenever these big studios start to realize that white actors, these big movie stars, like this era is done. Like I am so sick and tired of watching the same people basically play all these different roles over and over again. It's like you see it happening in Survivor, 5-10 years ago, which mostly white cast, was started to get really boring. And and I think that's just because of the monotony of watching the same type of people play over and over again, the same type of actor play the same thing over and over again. It's fucking boring. So let's get more diversity. Let's get more ethnicity. Let's get multicultural. Let's get people from all over all walks of life. It just is going to create much more interesting stories, things that will captivate and bring audiences in, because there's so much diversity in this world. And if we're looking at it from this like Western colonial power, like, yeah, Tom Cruise and Johnny Depp and Brad Pitt and all these actors, like they had their day and it's time to move on.
mm. Yeah, no, listen, first of all, that's my man. You'll hear Ozzy talking, he's preaching, yes. And there were a lot of Black survivors that came together during like 2020, myself included, to fight for diversity. And because of the work that myself and countless other survivors like Julia Carter, Wendell Holland, Jamal Shipman, Jatia Hart Taylor, the list goes on. Like we really called CBS in. We had meetings with them, and after our meetings, they pledged 50% BIPOP. And it wasn't just like 50% BIPOP in front of the camera. Like in order to be able to tell like my story or your story, like you would need to know what our background is like. And so they pledged that, and we see it moving forward. However, in my opinion, I feel like, yeah, we've taken one step, but there are so many more avenues that I feel like Survivor could do better on. And especially
Mm-hmm.
like if we're talking in the LGBTQ plus community, I say this and I'm gonna say it again, like, we have trans players, and I think that is great. However, like what you just said, like, why are we having the same type of trans player, a white trans man? Like, where are my Black trans women, the trans women that are getting killed the most, that like
Mm-hmm.
society deems as like the lowest of the lowest? Like, why not bring them on, and representation? But there are just so many more avenues of representation that I would love to see. But again, when we're talking about the LGBTQ plus community, I always just kind of like go there because I have many friends that are in the trans community, and when I am with them at times, I am able to see my privilege in society. And
Mm-hmm.
like you very much, I try to do everything and anything that I can do to always bring awareness to the trans community. And I feel like we talk about LGBTQ plus community and we talk about gay rights, and it's literally off of the back of Black trans women who are
Mm-hmm.
pushed to the side. We're talking Stonewall, because
Mm-hmm.
they were seen that they could be the forefront of a movement, and so they had to put a white face in it. And and that's still some of my issues with the LGBTQ plus community, is that it's not diverse. It's really a white gay man's community, and they make it be known a lot of the time. There are places that I don't feel comfortable. There are like establishments in Philadelphia that I do not visit, because they make these rules that in but so many ways basically say like, keep the urbanness out, like no hats, no Tims. Like, well, is there a space that like Black queer people can Black? Because
Mm-hmm.
like, and it's just, for me, it's always just such a struggle, because I feel like, for me personally, like in my own Black community, I'm seen as like, oh, you're not Black, you're not like, I can't be gay and Black, I just have to be Black and shut up. And even though they don't like, respect the gays as much as they should. And then, we're over here in the gay community, and it's a community that at times I feel, and I know many other people of color feel like it's not welcoming. It doesn't like, commit to us. So there is just so many more avenues of diversity that I would love to see Survivor go, and not just with the LGBTQ plus community, but just in like there are so many more religions, there's so many more races that can be shown. And it's not anything that like we're saying that white players aren't good, like, or anything like that. But we've seen the season over and over again. And just like you were talking about the Oscars, like how many white men have won Oscars? And then you look at it, how many white men winners of Survivor do we have? Like, like
Mhm.
let's spicing it up a little bit. Is there anyone from like your seasons of Survivor that you still keep in contact with?
My seasons of Survivor, yeah, I mean, there's a few. I'm not very good at keeping.
Yeah, sorry, there was a little there was a connection. You not good at what, Ozzy? I ain't hear you.
I'm not that good at keeping up with people like that. You know, I like hanging out with people in person, but like having phone conversations, texting back and forth, not usually that good. But um, the people that I still keep up with, they're just it's kind of a random mixed bag of people. Like if I'm in somebody's city, I'll say, "Hey, what's going on? Let's hang out." Or whatever. But other than that, I'm more of a I like the one-on-one in person kind of
Okay.
thing.
All right. And then if there was anyone out of the Survivor franchise, of all the people that you met, who would you say you keep in contact the most with?
Damn, out of all the people on,
This should be a very easy answer, Ozzy, because this interview can
I'm
end real
I'm
quick.
I'm probably gonna have to say you, my brother.
Let me stop. Yes. So okay, so we got our survivors out the way. My next question is, what word on the block is, what is this Ozzy coin I'm hearing about? Like,
Oh,
what's the Ozzy coin? Like, let the people know like what the Ozzy coin is.
I mean, there's a lot. I've been working on trying to figure out how to explain it to people in a really like elevator pitch way, and the easiest way to say it is it's like a fan club you can cash out of.
Oh,
So the Ozzy coin is it's basically like a blockchain coin, so it's like a cryptocurrency. But say you were to buy $10 worth of this coin, right?
okay.
As long as I can keep staying current, making content, making cool cool entertainment, and that coin kind of keeps going up and up. And maybe you decide, all right, this guy's not really my cup of tea anymore. You can turn around and you can sell it, and you probably make a little money.
Oh,
So it's an opportunity for fans to be a part of the journey of whatever they're interested in. So whether it's me or a band or an artist or a poet or an entertainer in any capacity, it allows fans to sort of become involved in that journey. And sorry,
no, you're no
one
worries.
outside. It lets fans benefit from the person that they look up to and admire or want to support. It allows them to actually have a stake in that success. So imagine you find this artist that you love, say it's a musician, and they're just starting out, and you're like, damn, they're this album is fire, like how can I support? You buy some of their coin, and then all of a sudden more and more people start to find out about it, and they start to buy the coin. Then all of a sudden you are one of the first people that found this person, and a year 2 years down the road they have become an international star. Like,
Mm.
you would benefit dramatically from that. So not only does the artist benefit, but the fans benefit as well. It's like a chance to create community. It's a chance to offer, special sort of an inside track. So I can go there and I can ask all the people that really love me and support me, hey, what kind of content do you guys want to see? uh, who can I give a free cameo to? Who wants to get me on their podcast? Who wants me to show up at their at their event? Or who wants to come to Venice Beach and hang out with me for a day and go surfing? Who wants to come to my place in Mexico? So it's almost like just revamping what I consider to be an amazing fan club and also community. And then if you, for whatever reason, you decide that it's not working out for you, or you just want to move on, or you want to just make a little money, you cash out, and that you've kind of like, it's like a subscription that you can get refunded on.
Mm. Well, first of all, who would ever want to cash out? I don't know.
I
But
don't
if
know.
people are more interested, because I don't think like the Ozzy coin is well known enough. Like, where can people find or buy? Well, let me stop saying where can people. Bish, where can I buy the Ozzy coin at, Ozzy? Because I'm trying to buy some Ozzy coin.
Yeah, just go to my on any of my socials and go to my link tree, and there's a link in my link tree, and you can just click on there and you can check it out. But I do think that this is the way of the future for digital creators. It's going to cut out the middleman, and it's going to allow us to really have these flourishing communities that are outside of Twitter, outside of Instagram, that has whatever policies that they have. It allows us to connect directly to fans in a way that hasn't really been done before.
And what I think is so special about that, Ozzy, is that it kind of keeps you, I don't want to say current with your fans, but at least like the people like myself that are buying the Ozzy coins, like you'll know what we want. And so for me, I feel like it's such a way to stay more authentic to your base. At times when you have like advertisers or this or that, and you have to kind of sort of like cater to them. This way, you're right, you're cutting out the middle person and you're catering to the people that really love and support you the most. So I think that that is amazing. And I know my purple pants posse can get behind this and support the Ozzy coin.
I hope
And
so.
of course, listen, we love listen, if Ozzy, you my man now. So listen, of course they're going to want to support you. Another thing you talked about was like, creating more content. We know that you started in OnlyFans and you had, about a year ago. And you talked about that earlier. But myself, I did an OnlyFans review, and I think that that's when we like connected because I was telling you like, listen, Ozzy, I didn't watch it, and here's some things that you could like enhance or things that you could like subtle little changes. And
Yeah.
I know that you have incorporated that, and I know that it's been a success for you. But I'm like, what can people expect from your OnlyFans that don't know about the OnlyFans? Because I think, listen, y'all better just check them out. Like what type of content, what's the give us the tea on the Ozzy OnlyFans.
I think what you can expect to see on there is, for one, you get to see a journal of sexual exploration,
Mm.
and that journey started you know, publicly started a year and a half ago, and it's just the tip of the iceberg. That there's still so much more to explore, and so much more that I can't wait to bring y'all along with, to experience with me.
Whew, you get me hot, Ozzy. So my question is, were you nervous about kind of like starting this? Because I know that you've done things in the past before, and you've always been adventurous. But like, were you nervous about actually like taking this on as a more serious project? Like, or were you just like at this point, like I'm at the point in my life where I want to do what I want to do?
It's a little bit of both. I mean, I've only done these like pro con lists a few times in my life, and this was one decision where I had to write things down. I had to say,
Mm,
all right, what are the pros and what are the cons? And honestly, the pros were probably 3 to 4 times more than the cons,
mm,
and just based off of that, um, just I took that into consideration, and I'm also just at that point in my life where I just want to do and live the way that I want to. And I want to live as authentically as I can. And I want to explore, and I want to experience my life to the fullest it can be. And I don't want to, I don't want to close doors because of what society has told me to do, because of, some antiquated bullshit systems that have been passed down for thousands of years. No, I I want to live my life, and I want to explore it in the way that feels authentic to me. And that's basically what it was.
I love that. And with OnlyFans and with like the adult world industry, there's like this huge like stigma that people put on like sex workers.
Yeah.
And have you felt that? Have you experienced that? Or do you feel like you've been trying to rise above it and show people that like the stigma that people have about it, they really should change their mind? Like what has your experience been with that in the adult world,
Yeah,
entertainment world?
I mean, I've definitely been coming up against the stigma around sex workers, but like I said before, basically a white passing man that,
Mm.
I don't have the same types
Mm.
of restrictions placed upon me that even women or people of color or anyone who's, a little more, um, a little less privileged than myself.
Mm.
So I don't. I think that that that's put a lot of responsibility on me
Mm.
to be able to stand up to things that I can, I obviously I know that like I look the way I look and I am who I am, and I don't have the same kinds of I'm just able to do more than other people, and hopefully like with just the little that I can do, I can help to shift that narrative a little bit. And I think that the more that people see it become accepted in mainstream society and mainstream life, I think that it will allow more people to be themselves and be themselves authentically and not have to hide behind, you know, lies and or just these parts, these roles that we have to play to get along. And
Mm.
I do think that the stigma around sex work is incredibly dangerous, and it not only does it create dangerous situations, but it it doesn't allow us to really solve some of the, I don't know, basic simple problems that are pervasive when it comes to, sexual health, or just the absolute predatory nature of, you know some of the, like we were talking about, um, you know trans black women,
Mm-hmm.
being, not just trans black women, but the same thing happens in Mexico, and some of the, the people of color that a lot of them go missing, end up
Mm-hmm.
end up dead, end up in, and there's doesn't ever seem to be any outrage about that, because they're kind of like forgotten, and not the for some reason their lives aren't as cherished as others. So
Right.
I don't know. It's sometimes I feel really depressed at the state of the country and this world, and other times I feel like it it's up to us to do what we can, having these little platforms, whether it's just a little podcast or a Twitter post or this, just showing people that the face of a sex worker, or someone who is gay or bisexual, is just like, there's nothing to be ashamed of at all.
No, it's so important. And again, why I think it's so important for us to have this conversation, and why I think it's so important of our friendship. It really does matter. And again, like you said, it's for me, everyone's like, well, what's it going to take for things to change? And honestly, I don't have that answer. But all I know is that I know that anyone that I interact with, or anyone that I personally meet, could have a stigma about something, and then they meet me and I'm breaking down that wall. And I think it's our job, as individual people of this world, to be better people, and to love more and hate less,
Yeah.
is really my motto. And again, like I said, I'm on a road to a better Brice, and there are some days that I don't feel like I'm actually contributing, and then there are other days that I feel like I'm doing my part. And so I think that it's like, it's life, and we go on, and we have to be better people. But I do want to ask the people, they've been asking, and since we are like on this OnlyFans topic, people want to know, and I don't know the answer to this. That's why I'm asking you. But they want to know, are they want to see a Brice and Ozzy OnlyFans collaboration? That's what the people want to know. Okay, that's
Well, it sounds like you got to get your OnlyFans back up and running, because it sounds like that might have to happen. But I don't know. You might want to think twice about that, because CBS might not want to have you back on Survivor if you do. That's
well,
just a
it's quite all right. I'm the third boot out, and listen, my phone has not rung. So I am not worried about that. And then I just also know that like you're such an adventurous person. You do so many like fun things. I follow your Instagram, I follow you, and like you're just always doing so much fun things, and it always just look like you just have the best time in life. Like, what is a piece of advice that you can offer to someone that wants to live the life like Ozzy, that's just like free spirited and does what you want? Like, what's one piece of advice that you can offer someone that wants to be as adventurous and as fun as you?
um let's see. My girlfriend gave me this piece of advice, and I love it. I think it's really a simple rule to live by. I think that if you spend more time creating than consuming, I think
Mm,
that's a really powerful, simple tool. And you know, other than that, just continue to follow your dreams, and be curious about the world, and don't lose that curiosity, and don't lose your enthusiasm when you fail. I think that the my years of skateboarding as a kid, you learn how to fall in a way that sometimes is graceful. And so learning how to fall with grace and get back up, and not losing enthusiasm for your failures, but learning from them, is the best piece of advice I think I could give. And to love more and hate less.
come on, Ozzy.
Yeah.
Um, I love that. Mental health is a huge proponent of my life, and I think I try to make it a part of my podcast. And I always try to show myself like self-love, and I always tell people like, self-love and like, doing something for yourself, like a self-care Sunday is so important. And I just am curious, like, are there any things that you do for self-care, or like a self-love Ozzy day? Like, what are some of your like self-care routines?
Yeah. Self-care for me is getting exercise,
Okay.
is making sure I'm doing what I can to get my body moving. I know that I feel the best when I'm doing that, and if I go a couple days without it, it affects my mental health. It's very it's very clear, and it's taken me many years to realize that. I just thought that I could go weeks on end without exercise, or without moving my body, and I just know that that is one of the most number one. And also for me, it's just making sure I have enough time alone,
Mm.
to whether it's trying to calm your thoughts and do whether meditating or whatever you want to call it, but just being able to recharge and reflect. But uh, I'm getting more and more into, like you said, like doing like face masks and hair masks, and I don't know why I didn't get into this a lot.
Yes.
Well, and
Okay.
this is also one of those things that as a young man growing up, like if you were to be fucking with a face mask in high school, like you you wouldn't hear the end of it, and that's something that hopefully we start to change more and more, because damn, it feels good to put a face
Uh
mask on.
yes. Okay. So Ozzy, the next time that we get together, can we do little face masks?
Yeah.
I have a skin routine that will change your life. I don't want to keep you too much longer. I know you are very busy, but I do have like two more questions that I want to ask you.
Yeah.
And just to follow up, because I know you talked about a lot of like trauma in your childhood, and I feel like everyone experiences trauma whether they realize it or not, and at times it can rear its head in our lives and we don't know why, and it's because at times it's like trauma undealt with, or things like that. So I was just hearing you say that. Is there any piece of advice that you would offer to your 14, 15, 16-year-old self? Like if it's just one thing that you could say, or just something, like what would that be to 16-year-old Ozzy?
um I think keeping a journal It's something that I've tried to do off and on my entire life. And I'll have like little spurts where I'll do it for like a month, or I'll go back and look at journals that I have from like when I was a teenager.
Mhm.
And, it's like I'll write a couple pages and then it'll be like a couple months and a couple more pages. So I think something like that I would love to have had. I'd love to be able to look back on some of the things I was going through back then and just, be able to reflect. And unfortunately, I don't really have a really like, uh, I don't have anything like that. Like my girlfriend does, and I'm really jealous of it. She's got like her day to day going back years and years and years and years. And it's something that I think is really valuable. And I think that's something that would really help a lot.
I love that. And then like, what's next for Ozzy? What can people expect from you? What you got going on? Like, what can people be on the lookout for?
Let's see. Well, there's going to be a lot of fun content making this summer.
Oh,
I'm going to be experimenting with all sorts of stuff. So that's going to be coming. And then I've got a couple of fun adventures happening. And, people are just going to have to stay tuned to see.
yes, I love it. And before you go, because earlier in the conversation, you were saying like, you're like not people being boxed in and not like, why do I have to like a girl, like a boy, like you like energy and like you like, different things of that. So describe to me before you go what you got from my energy, Ozzy.
Oh, well, you're just a big sweetheart. You really are. And you've got a wit to you that when you feel comfortable with people and you let that wit out, it's really great to be around.
Oh.
So yeah, but mostly from your energy, I get warm, like cuddly teddy bear.
Okay. The people want to know, is my skin soft, Ozzy?
Oh yeah, your skin is
Oh,
so soft.
okay. The people is me, not the people is me. Ozzy, I love you. Thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate this. And yeah, I've been a huge fan of yours throughout my like because we're not that much apart in age, even though I'm still in my 20s. But it's just it's amazing to know that like, I can call you a friend. Like, I can call like, your girlfriend is my sister wife. Like, it's just so it's like such a full circle for me. Just from someone that like has not felt like they belonged to then like coming in and meeting someone like you and like, you just welcoming me. I just appreciate it so much. And it's just like the fan boy in me is screaming. And again, like I feel like I know all of the queers and the gays at home, like, that photo is for y'all. Like, listen, I'm living out y'all dream, okay? Live through me, through Ozzy. But anyway, Ozzy, like, I love you and I appreciate you so much. And thank you so much for coming on the
Uh,
Purple Pants podcast.
I love you too, and thank you. And this was a great pleasure. So thank you.
Thank you, Ozzy.
It's the Purple Pants, it's the Purple Pants, it's the Purple Pants podcast. You better get your headphones and listen up quick. Ooh. It's the Purple Pants podcast. You better listen in public, might make your stomach hurt. Ooh. It's the Purple Pants podcast. You're trying to unwind, you better get that box wine. It's the Purple Pants podcast. You're trying to get your snack, you better hurry right back though. It's the Purple Pants, it's the Purple Pants.